young corporate Malaysians today to tell you about our story, what we are trying to do, and hope that some of you might be moved to seek higher meaning to your career. This is true. I mean, this has always been my pitch because I speak from the heart. If you look for the finer things in life, luxury, money, we can provide some of that. But the person you will become after you're done at SPAD is going to be somebody that you are proud of. So that was my sales pitch for today. Okay, enough about me. You can always ask questions if it, after I'll go through this pretty quickly because I'm not sure whether you're interested in MRT or not. Okay, let me start with a little bit about our organization. You know, public transport used to be quite popular in the 80s, with minibuses running around, quite efficient, not very comfortable, but efficient. You can get wherever you want. But then we started going through fantastic economic growth. More people can afford cars. National cars came online. So the road started to get very, very congested. That led to some major exercises in the 90s. We see investments in LRT, monorail, restructuring of buses with the introduction of Intrakota and later Rapid KL. But nothing much had moved since the 90s. No new railways. So we're back to that problem where, dreadlocks everywhere. And it's starting to become a real threat to the economic growth of the city in the future. And you know KL is the heart of the country. If KL dies, the whole country will die. So we needed to do something, so that is the journey. And I was pointing out earlier, you see on the right hand side, the modal share. This is percentage of people who use public transport had been going down steadily from 34% in 85 to 20% in 97, and before the NKRA urban public transport started, it was down to 10% income value. So things are really bad, but our beloved Prime Minister saw an opportunity because this is what is going to impact most of the people in the city, the rakyat. So he agreed to urban public transport as one of the NKRAs in GTP, and we had set a target of 25% modal share for public transport by end of 2012. And I'm glad to report that we are on our way there. Last year it was 17%. Current issues you know very well. The rail network, if you're lucky enough to get on it, or you're lucky enough to get access to it or live near to it, you will face with very, very uncomfortable rides until the introduction of, especially for LRT, the 4-car train sets. Now it's much more comfortable. But KTM is still a problem. But we have made arrangements for new train sets to be delivered by next year. For buses, it's highly unpredictable. Slow travel times, you're stuck behind other cars. Taxis, you know how horrible it is. Network is unplanned and very ad hoc, driven mainly by vendors and suppliers. So I guess you can address symptoms all day long, but they will keep cropping up. The root cause of all this is because the way we govern public transport. It is, or it was an afterthought. It's part of DBKL to organize, but DBKL is much more concerned about structural planning. Transport became second. Ministry of Transport, even though they were called Ministry of Transport, did not have much jurisdiction over public transport except for KTM. So, to achieve the vision that we had set for ourselves, there needs to be a holistic approach to arrest the deterioration. This is where the creation of a single authority to regulate public transport came into being. Focus on this one is land public transport, which include rail, bus, taxi, freight, and tourism vehicle. So I was telling you earlier, for those who might be swayed to contribute towards public transport, let me just say one thing. Every time I meet people, they say either one of two things. First, I feel sorry for you, I don't envy you. Second, they say, hey, great, fantastic, you're in the hottest thing in government. So I tend to listen to the second one more. So in any case, you can see public transport is at the center of the government transformation program. The first part of the transformation, which is the government, the GTP, public transport, as I mentioned, urban public transport is one of the key national result areas. For the more exciting ETP, a few projects regarding surrounding public transport, such as MRT, high-speed rail, is at the center stage. So this is very much in line with the aspirations of the government. So we have the mandate, even though we are the newest kid on the block, people tend to listen to us. So it's quite exciting. A little bit about SPAD. As mentioned, it was formed just a little bit over a year ago. But we didn't get our powers until at the end of January this year. The move is towards creating a central body that would be the one-stop center for public transport in terms of planning, regulating, enforcing. Even though, let me tell you, we don't have the absolute power like other authorities like Land Transport Authority in Singapore. This is because of the way our constitution was set up. A lot of it rests with the local authorities. But because we are formed and our minister in charge is the Prime Minister himself, so we get a lot of influence that way. So even though we are not fully empowered by law, we still get a lot of things done. So for those of you who might be interested, here are some of the key areas that we do that you might find a fit. Among our primary functions, in terms of drawing up policies, the way we do it is much different than the way it's done at other government agencies. We go to the heart of the matter. We go to the root cause, and it's very fact-based, data-driven. In terms of planning, we tend to go a bit broad and a bit deeper than other people as well. We are, and in that part, we are right now drawing up the National Public Transport Policy Framework, and we are also doing public transport master plan region by region. The first region is the Klang Valley region. And then we have the more mundane and boring stuff like drawing up regulations, making sure people comply, and enforcing it if operators don't. Our secondary functions are quite interesting as well. Like I said, we are data driven, so our research, we are building up research capabilities. We are tying up with other organizations such as UITP or the Global Public Transport Association, which has extensive database. We run a lot of projects such as MRT and possibly high-speed rail. So program management, project management is key. We are also building up our consumer relations. Our call center will be completely transformed. And then some more boring stuff like standard setting. But I don't want to sound too overly ambitious and optimistic because we are we're just a year old. Our organization is not set up yet. We have our budget for last year. We are still fighting for our budget for next year. So we have decided to narrow down our key focus areas for next year, for this year and next year. So those are our strategic pillars, covering areas like safety. As you know, a lot of problems with especially express buses. So safety is an extremely important area that we need to show major improvements in. So is effective monitoring and enforcement. I don't know if you read NST a couple of days ago. So that's the bad and good things about being in this job. I know in corporate life, you go through your roller coaster, you get your highs and your lows, but in this job, your lows are really low. But your highs are really high as well. So I have my good days, I have my bad days. 2 days ago in NST, where they squarely blamed us for how problem in KIA on the front page was a low. In any case, the middle pillar, MRT, this is extremely huge. As you know, this is the biggest infrastructure project the government has ever undertaken since independence. And we are intent on doing it differently than the way other infrastructure projects are done in this country. I'll tell you what those are in a little bit. And to a lesser intensity, we are also looking at rolling out public transport development in areas outside the country. But you know, it's such a huge task to go everywhere, every small cities, every kampong. So that part we are trying to play it down a little bit, because that part requires a lot of money. And the fifth area is to have everything done by the data. We don't move until the data tells us to. So, and we also plan to release all this data to the public to gain their confidence about when we say things are improving, things really are improving. The rest are about pillars, about foundations, about building enablers so that we can achieve these 5 pillars for the next 2 years. So, journey we are, I forgot to tell you. We also, in this process, absorbed 2 government agencies, more traditional government agencies. Department of Railway, we absorbed that from Ministry of Transport. And also our bigger adopted agency, the Commercial Vehicle Licensing Board. So in terms of numbers, they dwarf all of us. But we are trying to absorb and integrate all of them. Right now,